Insane way bank robbers executed perfect bank heist. It's January 13, 2006, a beautiful summer day in Buenos Aires, Argentina, when a call went out to local police at 12:38 p.m. that Banco Rio was being robbed. Located in a serene, rich neighborhood in Argentina's capital, the prestigious bank contained a fortune in its vaults. Police officers arrived at the scene to discover that 4 thieves and 23 hostages were inside. They secured the perimeter, guarding the only 2 possible exits from the bank. After communicating and negotiating with the robbers throughout most of the afternoon, the thieves suddenly went silent. At 7 p.m., police officers broke into Banco Rio and found a confounding scene. The hostages were alive and well. Almost 150 safety deposit boxes were forced open and emptied of their contents, and the robbers were gone. No sign of the thieves could be found, no windows were broken, and the exits had been watched by police the whole time. How did these thieves get away with what has become known as the robbery of the century? How did they disappear under the careful watch of more than 100 police officers? We dug deep into this infamous Argentinian bank heist to find out. Banco Rio, now known as Banco Santander Rio, was one of Argentina's leading financial institutions, with branches throughout the country. One of its branches was nestled in the calm, wealthy neighborhood of San Isidro, in Buenos Aires' northern suburbs. How well off was San Isidro? Well, the neighborhood now has 2 golf courses, a sailing club, and a jockey club. You can almost see the residents clutching their pearls. In 2006, Argentina was already no stranger to infamous bank robberies. In fact, a heist that had happened a few years earlier had left the nation reeling, and as it turns out, inspired the heist of Banco Rio. In 1999, thieves had broken into a bank in Ramallo, Argentina, and taken hostages in order to negotiate their freedom from police. The robbers tried to leave the bank using the hostages as shields, and police opened fire, killing one of the robbers, but also 2 innocent hostages. As though the tragic event wasn't enough of a PR nightmare for the police, the whole bank heist had been shown on live TV via the many news cameras at the scene. Most Argentinians had seen both the robbery and the killings go down in real time. By the way, how did the thieves manage to escape from Banco Rio during the heist? Through a secret tunnel dug from the bank's basement to a nearby storm drain, by using hostages as decoys while they slipped out disguised as police officers. They hid inside safety deposit boxes until the police left. They used a helicopter to fly away from the roof of the bank. Take a guess. The correct answer will be revealed shortly. Well, the correct answer is through a secret tunnel dug from the bank's basement to a nearby storm drain. The nation was in shock. As a result of the Ramallo case, police in the 2006 Banco Rio heist were more reluctant to take drastic action when they arrived at the scene of a bank robbery in progress. That warm January day, with even more news cameras trained on the hostage situation at Banco Rio, police were trying to move as carefully as possible. Then again, they weren't in a rush, because they thought they had the thieves trapped and surrounded. Over 100 officers had shown up at the scene, and every vantage point to the bank that wasn't occupied by a news photographer was occupied by a sniper. The 2 bank exits were covered. Where could the thieves go? One of the robbers inside, who bypassed several cool Argentinian names to codename himself Walter instead, was negotiating the release of hostages with police. The thieves let the bank's security guard walk out the door unharmed, then a young man, then a young woman as well. It seemed like things were going well, and the robbers were playing along with the cops. Walter, who had been given the nickname of the man in the gray suit, seemed to be in a strangely happy mood given the gravity of his situation. He and the other thieves were treating the hostages well. At one point, they sang "Happy Birthday" to one of the bank employees after discovering it was the man's birthday, which is more than you remembered to do for most of your friends last year, without Facebook reminding you. Later on, around 3:30 p.m., Walter called police to complain that the 23 remaining hostages were hungry and they'd like some pizza. After this call, the line went silent. What was happening inside Banco Rio? For 3 hours, with Walter having ghosted them, the police had no idea what to do. Do they barge in, putting hostages in danger and risking another Ramallo-like situation? Like an EDX, they kept trying to contact Walter even after several missed calls. 23 hostages were being held or had been locked into 3 separate floors: the lobby, the mezzanine, and the basement conference room. The thieves were nowhere to be found. Police even double-checked to see if they were hiding among the hostages, but could not find them. When they entered the basement, they realized what the thieves had really been after. Out of the 400 reinforced steel safe deposit boxes in the basement, 143 had been cracked open. Why didn't the thieves steal cash from the bank instead? Well, most Argentinians at the time were pretty distrustful of the country's banking system. During the 2001 economic crisis in Argentina, the banking system had collapsed, wiping out the fortunes of those who had most of their money in bank accounts. In these safeguarded boxes, Argentinians piled in their cash, jewelry, and other valuable items that they could always reclaim in the event of an emergency. Given that San Isidro was an exceptionally rich neighborhood, the safe deposit boxes of this particular branch of Banco Rio contained an immense amount of wealth. After officers found so many of the boxes forced open, they also found the only few pieces of evidence the thieves had left behind: a battery pack, a tool that police assumed had been used to crack open the boxes, and a row of toy guns. That's right, the robbers had conducted this epic bank heist without even using real weapons. The last item police found was perhaps the most perplexing and obnoxious piece of evidence. Public opinions and rumors in Argentina almost immediately depicted the robbers as Robin Hood-like folk heroes. After all, they had stolen from the rich, hadn't harmed anyone, and given the money to… Well, it seemed they'd given it to themselves. But still, their heist was somewhat ingenious. So who was at the center of it all? And how had they executed and gotten away with such a perfect heist? Well, the mastermind behind the robbery of the century turned out to be a man named Fernando Araujo. You see, the Ronaldo bank heist had made an impression on Araujo, who thought the robbers had almost pulled off the perfect heist, but botched it all up when they tried to leave. After the six-man team was finally assembled, Araujo began the next step of his plan, scoping out the neighborhood and location around Banco Rio to find a building they could use for their tunnel excavation. 2 blocks down from Banco Rio was an empty house that was on the market, which made the perfect launch pad for their operation. The team posed as prospective buyers, visiting the house to carefully measure it out and determine how far away the bank was. After estimating that the house was about 15 meters from the bank, they decided to set up shop there. From this empty house, Araujo led the team in digging the tunnel that would connect it to the bank's basement, where the safe deposit boxes were held. On January 13, 2006, the crew made their move. They stormed into Banco Rio, took the staff and customers hostage, and began what appeared to be a textbook bank heist. As the world watched, Araujo and his team enacted their meticulously rehearsed plan. They allowed the police to think they were negotiating, with Walter leading the conversation, while the real work happened below ground. By the time the robbers went silent at 3:30 p.m., the hostages were secured, and the thieves were already deep in the tunnel, making their escape with the loot. The Banco Rio heist is a testament to the ingenuity and boldness of its perpetrators. From the meticulous planning to the flawless execution, Fernando Araujo and his team pulled off a heist that remains one of the most talked about in history. While they eventually faced justice, their legacy as the masterminds behind the robbery of the century endures. So guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. For more interesting content, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. For more awesome content, have a nice day, and I will see you in the next video.